not to be too colloquial about this, let's cut to the chase here. The standard for the issuance of a temporary injunction, that is to enjoin the department from doing what it's doing, and the department is on the site right now drilling wells, Judge, is that under the very familiar standards of Crow versus Du Bois, that the applicant has to demonstrate that they have a legal right underlying their claim, which is well settled, and that the reasonable likelihood of ultimately prevailing on the merits. They must also demonstrate that there's a likelihood of immediate and irreparable injury to them if the relief is not granted by this court. And finally, that the benefits of granting the relief outweigh any harm to the opponent of that relief. I would submit to you, Judge, that Roxbury has failed to meet all of those standards for the purposes of an injunction right now to prevent the department from doing what they're doing. And if I can speak to that. Roxbury's authority to go on the site and take samples is authority that's granted to it by the emergency order issued by the department. They don't have a statutory right to go on the site and do that. They don't have another legal right to go on the site to do that without permission of the property owner. Their authority to go on the site is what was granted by this emergency order. The order which Your Honor indicated that he had read states, the Township of Roxbury and its contractors shall have full access to the landfill to monitor all hydrogen sulfide control measures and to obtain test samples for the purpose of environmental monitoring. The department's actions on this site are for the purposes of abating hydrogen sulfide gas emissions. That's the acute issue. This order does not authorize the department to engage in a comprehensive landfill closure remedial investigation. The purpose of this order and the purpose of the department's actions was to address hydrogen sulfide gas emissions and the abatement of those emissions from the site. The department, so the argument that I think that excuse me, that's a mistake. Roxbury's underlying right to sampling is not in fact well settled, because what they've asked for is sampling not related to hydrogen sulfide gas, but related to a whole bunch of other things that aren't related to hydrogen sulfide gas emissions. For example, metals, PCBs, pesticides, volatile organic compounds, things of that nature that don't have anything to do with the generation of hydrogen sulfide gas. So they're going well beyond hydrogen sulfide gas monitoring and sampling in their request here to sample the cuttings from the well drillings.
Well, the wells are for the purpose, aren't the wells a hydrogen sulfide control measure?
They are indeed, Your Honor. I acknowledge that they are in fact. What Roxbury is asking for in their sampling is not just a sample for the purposes of hydrogen sulfide management, but for overall landfill closure beyond just the hydrogen sulfide gas odors on the site. The department's presence on the site is for that specific purpose, is to address hydrogen sulfide gas emissions. I would also submit to you, Judge, that the remedy that the department is putting into place, which would involve, you can stop me if this gets too boring, I guess, or technical.
It's neither.
The remedy that the department is putting into place involved initially putting an impermeable cap on the landfill with a material called posi shell, which is kind of a cement-like material. That encapsulates the areas where fill material was brought to the site, including materials that construction C&D funds. That also prevents moisture from infiltrating the site because it's a hard cap. The department's remedy, what the department's remedy is designed to do is to effectively dry out the landfill. Because the way that the bacteria act to create hydrogen sulfide gas in this landfill is that they need moisture, they need anaerobic conditions, that is conditions where there is no oxygen, and they need a food source, the sulfates in the gypsum wall. If there's no moisture, the bacteria are inactive, they die. Then if they die, nothing's eating the gypsum and sulfur therefore, so there's no emissions of hydrogen sulfide gas. What the department's remedy here is a comprehensive installation of a landfill gas extraction system which will effectively dry out the moisture that may be contained right now in the fill material. That will kill the bacteria. That will prevent the generation of hydrogen sulfide gas in the future because the cap keeps moisture from infiltrating. materials can't leach, because leachate involves moisture. And if moisture doesn't get in, then nothing's gonna get out. So the department's response actually addresses the concerns that Roxbury has for the purposes of these other constituents that they'd like to sample. Getting to Mr. Grouser's point about the department not following its guidance on remedial actions here, again, I just want to reiterate, Judge, the department's response here, the response actions of the department were to address hydrogen sulfide gas emissions from this site, and solely that. The department didn't come onto the site, and the emergency order does not speak to a comprehensive landfill closure involving closure requirements outside of abatement of the hydrogen sulfide gas. So the harm that Roxbury would assert happens here if they're not on the sample isn't a harm. The harm really is if there's a delay in the department putting its measures into place to abate the hydrogen sulfide gas. These citizens are more likely to be exposed to hydrogen sulfide gas emissions if the process for remediating it is delayed. Pardon me? They don't want that.
The township said specifically it doesn't want to interfere with the installation of the wells.
I understand that.
The wells are going in. The question is, what do we do, if anything, about the cuttings? That's all that's on the table right now.
The cuttings themselves, as I understand this from speaking to the department engineers, and I can explain the process a little bit better.
Sure.
Mr. Grouser did a nice job, but if I can add some detail to that.
Yes.
The equipment that the department is using is called a bucket auger. It drills a 2-foot, it has a bucket attached to the auger. It drills a 2-foot diameter hole, it goes down several feet, and then the cuttings come up from that. Those cuttings are deposited next to the hole, the auger goes back down another several feet, pulls up whatever materials the bucket can hold, those are deposited. So depending on the depth of the hole, there may be a number of entries and then exits from that hole until the hole itself is done. And then the casing goes in, the casing material goes around it. So depending on, for one thing, I think it's going to be difficult, and as Mr. Grouser explained it, and I'm not an engineer, Judge, so, but as I understand what he's suggesting, and as I understand how the process would work, they want to take at-depth cuttings. That's going to require the driller to extract the bucket and put the different depth cuttings in different places so that those can be sampled. I don't know that that's what the plan was. I think the plan was just to put it all in one little pile and then go. And I don't know that. But what happens also is that with that process you get an homogenization of the materials. And so some of the constituents that they might want to sample for will get mixed together. So at certain depths you might get something, 3 feet you get one thing, and 10 feet you might get something different.
Well, that's the point.
I understand that, Judge. I don't know that the operation is set up in a way that would allow the driller, the operator of the equipment there to, at 4 feet, put a pile in section A, and at 8 feet, put a pile in section B, and at 12 feet, put a pile in section D, so that they could get those depth readings. Neither do I know exactly how deep those are going to go. So logistically, it's more challenging than you might be suggesting.
Well, the paper suggests varying depth.
Well, there are going to be varying depths because the landfill itself, the fill materials is varying depths. In some areas it may be 15, 18 feet, and in other places it's 35 feet, just because of the way the topography itself slopes. There's also issues here of not just the safety of the sampling crew, because when the auger goes into the ground, it's going to pull up material, and there's